Hi guys, this is Bamdale from Delaware Studios. You're welcome to another episode of Android Programming. We'll be talking about a simple to-do list with material design outlay, which takes tasks in order of priority, high, medium, and low, with different colors to depict each level of priority. Users also have access to delete any text added. We'll be moving straight to Android Studio where I have the source file of this particular application, and I'll be explaining in details how the application or how the coding actually flows. Right in Android Studio, I have my build Gradle scripts, the project, and the model app session. Let's get to look at the model app session of this particular application. We have the dependencies to talk about the recycler view dependencies. This is version 7.24.1. This must match the SDK version used. We have the FAB dependencies, that's the action button. This also from 24.2.1. And we talk about the testing, the instrumentation dependency use. While we talk about the support annotation, the support test runner, and the support test rules. These are all 0.5 version. After applying these, you need to synchronize Gradle, and you have your application ready to go. Let's get to look at the rest. We'll talk about the layout files, the activity add tags, the activity main, which is the UI launcher, the tags layout XML. The activity main XML will be the first XML to talk about. This particular XML has a frame layout, whereby we have the layout with a night match parent, and we have the recycler view that is responsible for holding a list of tags data. We have the recycler view tag, the support version 7 widget, and also the floating action button that launches add tags activity when clicked. So we have the floating action button. We assign an ID to it called fab. The layout with an ID is wrap content. The layout graffiti is bottom and end, while the layout margin is 16 dp, while the source compact is from the drawable IC input add, and the tint is actually from the color white. We'll look at the activity add tags XML. This vertical linear layout contains all the views in the add tags activity code. This includes an edit text to add a text description and buttons to select a priority. We have the linear layout whereby its rotation is vertical, the layout with an match parent, the padding bottom and left, right, start, top are all 16 dps. We have the edit text for getting text description input, whereby we assign an ID to it called edit text description. The graffiti is start, and the int of this particular edit text is describe your tags. We have the text view and frame layout, which contains button for priority selection. The text view actually has a text color of color primary. This guy getting from the color XML, and we have the text on it called priority. The layout margin top and margin bottom are all its DPs. The frame layout follows, whereby it has a layout with an height of match parent and wrap content respectively. While the linear layout that contains all three priorities button, the high, medium, low, are all in a single line. That's this linear layout, whereby we have the button. The first button is for the high, while the second is for the medium, while the third is for the low. These are calling from the string XML. We have the closing linear layout, and now we have the radio group for visible selection of a priority. The radio group actually houses the radio button, while the radio group has a layout graffiti of center. The rotation is vertical and the weight sum is 3. And it has 3 radio buttons. The first radio button is we assign an ID to it called rad button 1. Layout with an height, wrap content. On click listener is being attached to this, whereby it has on priority selected. Whereby it calls on the theme, the star white radio button. The another radio button is actually we assign an ID to it called rad button 2. Whereby it also has the same functionality with the radio button first with the first radio button. We have the third radio button that acts an ID of rad button 3, while the layout with an ID also wrap content. The on click on it is on priority selected. We get to code all these right in the Java classes, and we have to add a button, which is the last button be added. We assign an ID to it called add button, and the text is add. This is actually going to add the to-do list or the activity you're actually having to record, and that's an on-click listener need to call on-click add tags. That's cool. Let's get to look at the tags layout XML. This linear layout contains a single item in the list of tasks displayed in the main activity. This is a linear layout whereby the layout with a night, match parent, wrap content respectively. The orientation is vertical. It's calling the context of main activity. And we have this horizontal linear layout displays the description and priority of a task in a single horizontal line. This is whereby we have the linear layout as a tag. The rotation is horizontal, the padding top, left to right, bottom, all 16 DPs and 24 DP and 8 DPs respectively. While we have the text view that displays the description of a task, whereby you assign the task description as the ID and the layout with a night wrap content. The text color is calling from the color XML, which is the primary light text light. An empty view for spacing out the description and priority views. This view is actually meant for spacing. And we have a text view, which is a priority circle that is colored in programmatically in the adapter code. We assign an ID to it called priority text view, while the text alignment is center and the text color is actually calling from the color XML. And we have a view, which is a gray divider line at the bottom of each task. The layout with it is match parent, the layout height is 14 dp, and the background is color dark gray. We have the closing linear layout. Let's get a look at our Java classes. We have a subdirectory called data that is actually holding on to the task content, provider, the task contract, and the task DB helper. If you're familiar with my previous tutorial, which is about the guest list, you should have gotten yourself acclimatized with the task contract, the task DB helper, and even the content provider. We'll be looking at the classes. The main activity is the launcher activity of this particular application, whereby we imported the intent, the cursor, the floating action button, the loader manager, the async task loader, and the linear layout manager, recycler view, item touch helper. We also imported the task contract from the data subdirectory. The main activity extends app contract activity, where we implement the load manager and the load callbacks, putting in the cursor as a generic parameter. We have the constraint for logging and referring to a unique loader, whereby we have the string tag, the task loader, and we also have the member variable for the adapter and the recycler view, which is the custom cursor adapter and the mRecycler view object created. The onCreate method called on the super onCreate save instance state to be passed in, and they set the content view to the layout activity main. Now we need to set the recycler view to this corresponding view. We know we've actually created this object over here. Now we need to call on the recycler view task ID. We need to set the layout for the recycler view to the linear layout, which measures and positions item within a recycler view into a linear list. So whereby we call the set layout manager. Now we need to initialize the adapter and attach it to the recycler view, whereby we use the new keyword, the new custom cursor adapter. We set the adapter passing the mAdapter object created. And we need to add a touch helper to the recycler view to recognize when the user swipes to delete an item. An item touch helper enables touch behavior like swipe and move on each view order and uses callback to signal when the user is performing these actions, whereby we share the new item touch helper, whereby if it's swiping left or swiping right. Okay, and it's going to return a false. This is called when the user swipes. We have the on swipe when the user swipe left or right on the view order. Now what is actually going to do? Yeah, you have to implement the swipe to delete, because actually you have to delete some of the input data. Probably you've added something and you need to delete it up. Whereby we call on the ID of each view order, and you build the appropriate URI with string row ID appended, whereby you should have the string ID and also the URI being created. You build upon it, you append a part, the string ID you pass in and you build it up, and you're going to delete a single row of data using a content resolver. A get content resolver method, you delete based on its URI, and you restart the loader to requery all text after deletion. Now that's what the support loader manager is actually doing. And let's set the floating action button to its corresponding view, whereby you attach the on-click listener to it so that when it is clicked, a new intent will be created to launch the task activity. That's what the FAB button, you created an object for it from the view ID FAB, and you set on-click listener to this to create a new intent to start on an add task activity. So this calls the add task activity class. So this takes us to the attacks activity class. What this is actually doing, the actors activity class extends app compact activity, whereby we declare a member variable to keep track of a task selected called priority. We have the onCreate method that set the onCreate saved instance state and set the content view to the activity add task. We initialize to highest priority by default, whereby we find the ID of the radio button. We have the onClick add task, which is called when the add button is clicked. It retrieves user input and inserts that new text data into the underlying database. The onClick add task method, no, this is not yet implemented. You check if the exit text is empty. That is what we are actually checking. Okay, find the view by ID, the edit text description, get the text to string. So text if is equals to 0, you return, and you need to insert new text data via a content resolver. So you create a new empty content values object, whereby you assign the content values. You pull the task contract based on the column description, the column priority, and you start the content values via a content resolver. You get the content resolver, you insert the task value based on this content URI. We'll be looking at data, whereby we have the tax content provider and the tax contract and the tax DB helper. Let's get to look at the tax DB helper. This is actually extends the content provider, and you define final integer constants for the directory of tax and a single item. The tax with ID, assign 100 and 101 to each one of it. SURI matcher. Okay, you need to build the URI matcher, just to match the particular URI. You have to implement insert to undo requests. This is actually handling the request to insert a single new row of data, whereby we call on the SQLite database with an object from it called DB, whereby we need to switch. We have a switch statement. This is actually the URI matching code to identify the match of the tax directory. So you have the case, which is the tax. So you insert new values into the database, inserting values into the tax table. That's what you're going to be doing with a DB insert, and you check for the ID if it's greater than 0, you return URI. Else, you're going to throw the new Android database SQL exception, fail to insert role into the database. That's what that's actually doing. We need to implement the query to handle request for data by URI, which is the query here. You get the access to underlying database read only for query, which is the database, the mtax db helper. We write the URI match code and set a variable to return a cursor. I actually commented this very well so that you understand each line of code, each level of functionality. Now we have the case tags, the cursor, the query of the DB tax contract, projection, selection argument, and so on. You implement to delete a single row of data. This is the delete method, whereby you get access to the database and write URI matching code to recognize a single item. This is the SQL database that is actually doing that, and you need to match it right, and you handle the single item case recognized by the ID included in the URI path. That's what that's actually handling. Let's get to look at the manifest of this particular application, the Android manifest. You have the launch activity, which is the main activity, and you need to add the tax activity, which is the add tax activity, and you need to register the tax content provider by setting the name, authorities, and exported attributes. That's what this is actually. The authorities is the to-do list, and the name is to the tax content provider directory. The Android exported is false. I'll be uploading the source file into my GitHub account, and I'll be showing the screencast of this particular application. Thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this session. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful time and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance to my good listeners and fans. Have a wonderful time. Bye bye.